welcome everyone. Welcome, Kaj. We have a special guest by the name of Kaj Briscoe out of British Columbia, northwest of Canada. And Kai is the COO of this company, Chiswick Project Management, in the construction field that goes by CPM. And he will explain to us all about the adventures of being in the construction industry in the northwest of Canada, serving the Vancouver area and much beyond, far beyond. So, Kai, welcome. Um,
Thank
uh,
you. Thank you for having me today.
of course, tell us a few words, and I will introduce as well our work in a minute.
Sure. Well, I'm happy to be here with you today and look forward to our discussion about the industry that we're in and that we both admire. And it is a bit of a changing one these days with we're not free from the effects of some of the political things going on in this world today. But for the most part, we've enjoyed our little piece of uh, tranquility out in the Pacific Northwest. But yeah, happy to be here and answer some questions for you today.
Welcome, Kai. So, to give you a little bit of context, I am the founder and the CEO of Solar Express, a company that helps mid-size businesses accelerate growth through automation, through AI agents, and reducing costs, improving profitability by using, again, AI to turn manual administrative tasks into automated tasks. So it can be done faster, better. We bring solar light to those difficult aspects of business, and we bring express solutions, pretty much. That's what we do. So, and we've helped for the past, almost 20 years now, global organizations thrive in disruption. So you are in a space where there's been a lot of disruption, right, since the beginning of the year.
For sure. I mean, we have a number of disruptive qualities in the construction industry, and so looking forward to touching on some of those today. Certainly, AI is the most recent of the disruptions that everybody's just talking about. So
Sure. So why don't we
everyone's
start with this
frantically
one?
scratching to
Yes.
see how it fits their model.
Yeah, absolutely. So why don't we focus on this one for today, the one that's,
Sure.
as you said, on everybody's minds and lips, AI.
Yeah. Well, we sure have noticed a lot of employment cutbacks with a lot of larger development companies in the Pacific Northwest, a lot of consolidating of manpower, mostly due to market reactions. And so it's a great time to not only look for great people, but also develop some systems internally in the business that may make you a leaner machine moving forward, or to help support those employees with their daily redundant tasks. So
Hmm.
there's a lot of things that AI can model towards beyond the robocalling aspect, but that's where you come in with the disruptive technologies where we're looking to integrate into construction whatever we can at this point to save us time. In construction, we're always under the pressure for time and budget. So AI has some benefits there, I'm sure.
So, would you say between 1 and 5, where are you on the journey of AI adoption at CPM?
Oh gosh, we're probably at zero trying to crawl our way to one with the AI. Certainly AI through the systems that we do operate in uh, works behind the scenes a little bit through the integration, just how it's been widely accepted, through Microsoft platforms or whatever other
Mhm.
systems you're using, but not in a total system tool yet, not as a toolkit for construction managers or superintendents.
Mhm.
That's really where we see it going in the next
Mhm.
maybe 6 months to a year. Things happen in this AI market so quickly. So 6 months is sometimes happens in 6 weeks, right? So there was an old saying, you're likely more knowledgeable with the processor speed doubling every year, I think they would say. And that saying is probably antiquated now with AI. It would be weekly sometimes, I would think.
Sure. Indeed, indeed. So, for context, how many employees work at CPM? How old is the company? How many clients
Yeah,
do you have? If you can share an idea of the top revenue
sure.
sort.
Sure. Yeah. So the founder has been in the construction industry for about 35 to 40 years. We've been operating under CPM branch for close to 20 years. And so with a number of projects and units built in that time frame, we operate today around 25 employees and haven't had a tremendous amount of change or disruption, although the market has changed a little bit in the last couple of years to the negative, the condo market, and we're trying to find buyers in the industry, in the multifamily industry. So we've been fortunate enough to have enough of a portfolio that we're still underway and haven't had to do a tremendous amount of layoffs. We're also a construction management company, so we have some relatively, I would call it high horsepowered individuals that so we don't have a high overhead or high upkeep, because we're pretty nimble being managers, not actual self-performing aspects of it. So we manage the performance and the
Mhm.
execution of the
Mm.
construction. So
So you sit on the committee, the leadership team of the company, right? As a
I'm the
COO?
vice president of operations. Yes.
Yes, correct. So you are in those big conversations around how do we, you know, approach our work, leveraging AI. So what is the conversation? Is it just the beginning of it? As you said, some integration of platforms like Microsoft. I've already brought you into using some tool, but you have not yet fully rolled out something like company-wide or,
Yeah.
department-wide.
Well, we're not asking Grok how to build a six-story wood frame quite yet. If you know what I mean there.
So,
But I haven't tried that, and although it would probably give me a pretty good answer, it would never be something that we rely upon yet. Where this started, quite frankly, in our organization was with discussions about, of course, a lot of people have been using Chat GPT or AI related software for agreements, legal agreements, contractual items. I've worked with business owners that tell me how much time they're saving on administrative processes in their contracting business. So I can imagine that would be some databasing or other platforms that are available. We had discussions with some companies from New York that were interested in discussing with construction companies on how to make their platforms better. And
mm,
at that time, it was more about um, robotic or automated um, client or like calls, basically. So a call center that was essentially managed, or a robotic call center that would actually call out as well. So there was some technology there and related to growth. Um, our service side on the where we serviced full developers and full development projects, we were struggling on finding how that would apply, because we're not just dialing any number in the phone book to see if they need their gutters fixed or something, right? It was more, hey, do you have a piece of land that you're ready to develop?
mhm,
And so the context there wasn't quite scalable into that market. It was very more specialized. But
mhm,
you can always just write more fancy programming for that, I'm sure, and feed the system with the information that we have gathered, right? So it could be applied, but it's still very a human industry.
mm,
So
mhm,
I think that's where we're finding our best results.
mhm, mhm. And have you seen competitors behave differently or emerge with new ways and or clients, when you do your big multi-family or, or compounds, like the bigger
Sure.
operations? Yes,
Yeah.
request from
Yeah.
clients.
So I've certainly, there is a whole industry that services construction, and even more so now with technology, software as a service. So construction software in itself is a whole industry that's ballooned. We think about Sage, we think about QuickBooks as being some of the forefront runners of bookkeeping software when we were managing companies 10 to 15 years ago, and maybe some homemade um, databasing, right? Depending on the organization. But now uh, we're looking at all sorts of employee and management with it. Um, Bid estimation, we're looking at it to comb through drawings to assist with bids. So it's really a shift from the the home household name these days is like a Procore system, right?
Mhm,
Which
mhm,
will likely find ways to implement and add AI into that package if they
mhm,
haven't already, right?
mhm,
To
mhm.
streamline little things, to maybe populate an email with suggested people based on your history or based on the consultant mapping who so that is likely coming to assist project coordinators or junior project managers.
Mhm.
Um, we you know it, it would be great if it could find some customers. I think that there's that's already happening, but not at the developer level that I've noticed. Um, so we would be looking at AI right now as a means to assist on the data end of it and administer some of the data, some cost reporting,
Yeah,
some high level or heavy labor intensive reports where there's lots of like data with pictures or text, or if there's as part of my cost reporting for a single project, I could be analyzing anywhere from 150 to 200 invoices, let's say, per month.
wow,
Well, that's a lot of invoice time, right?
of
Now
course.
you couple on closing out consultant reports, you know, uh, maybe 3 to 5 hours a report. There's just not enough hours in the month
Of
for
course,
all the reports and for all the data analysis. There is for teams of people. Um, but we're seeing the market force the teams of people down to a single person or
mm,
a team of two
mm,
with these larger layoffs from these larger companies. So it'll be interesting to see how that impacts and
labor.
how technology replaces some of those
Yeah,
people.
yeah, yeah. So what I'm hearing, and maybe, but I would imagine we're talking about tens of thousands of dollars, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars, potentially being saved, and acceleration in the servicing aspect. Um,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
yeah.
There's some great company names out there right now that are actually local to our area. And when you look at construction software in aggregate across multiple geographical settings, you're going to have local construction software. And so, not just national software, you're going to have these little pop up softwares, which are great. And so, there's a lot of value there. There's some great names there. And it preceded AI. It was more about health and safety administration,
Yes.
hourly administration. When COVID came around, a lot of the sites were creating QR codes for um, question and answers. So if you look at today's industry and the requirements for data and information transfer compared to 20 years ago, our founder often jokes that he could manage 5 projects with one assistant and a fax machine.
Mm,
Well, we like to think we can do the same, but it's a lot more conversations, a lot more data transfer than just a telephone and a fax machine, right? You
mm,
can imagine how long that takes to send a fax out while we're sending 10 or 15 emails out in the time it takes to send out one fax
mm,
sometimes.
yeah.
So just a huge in and that's not necessarily sometimes being more productive either. That's just the requirements of
Mm,
having to send out
mm,
more information to get the
mm.
same thing done. Um,
And then what
anyway,
would you say? I mean, if you, as a leadership team, identify maybe the priority path forward, to leverage at least some cost saving, and optimization of processes. Have you identified this, or that's still not 100% a priority?
yeah, I think so. there's a large range. I think if as a construction manager, we work with developers and owners of the project and of the
Hmm.
development.
Hmm.
So they may not choose to have all the bells and whistles or extra people
Hmm.
to bake that cake that way. There's some redundancy, there's some extra service. In today's day and age, you need to have anti-bullying policies, you need to have hygiene policies, you need to have people administering those policies. You need to, so obviously technology and AI can replace a lot of that with question and answer statements and some verification stuff. It we have to be careful on how we roll that out, of course. But privacy and all that is still very, very real challenges in our day and age of no privacy anymore. So, yeah, I think, if I was to look at what's already there in the industry, which is essentially coordinating software that allows you to transfer data
Yep.
seamlessly with
Yes.
huge gobs of data with an email, which you can't. A lot of you get maximum, data transfer maximums and all that. So that's what this coordination software does. The main benefit of that is time stamping. Well, you don't need AI to timestamp and to suggest people. However, so I think I'm still searching for how AI could benefit me directly, other than a lot of data analysis. I wish I could just teach it to code invoices. I'm very certain, like I could find a way to do that, to code invoices,
Mhm.
which doesn't take more than maybe an hour or two a month. But the related processes, right? Data inputting that into an Excel or into a QuickBooks system for cost tracking schedule of values. We talk about various levels of sophistication of trades. We have a whole bunch of requirements for trades to get paid and to
Hmm.
have their invoices supported and backed up.
Hmm.
But how many times do construction managers just get a single page invoice, and we have to do some work to support that invoice,
Hmm.
right? To find this, to populate the schedule of values, to verify it in the field. So I think what we need is probably the AI code master disruptors to spend time with the likes of people like myself or the other leaders in industry to actually cater to us. Because I don't, you know, we could done logarithms and econometrics at very high levels, right? 400 level econometrics type logarithmic equations. And so we can build that to set an outcome, right? So, but I don't know how to code and work with AI. So I would need a professional to work with me on what my professional tasks are, so that they can model it toward what I need.
Well, actually, my experience with agentic AI, AI agents, is that it bypasses a lot of what we thought was necessary, and can deliver very sophisticated solutions to problems that seem massive to us at this point.
Mhm.
So let's get on the other end. So I know when we first spoke, that you're very humane in your approach, of course, to the construction business because it involves people and teams and motivations and a lot of unknown and unexpected problems and so on and so forth, relationship with clients. So that part is very important. Okay, let's call it the soft skills part, and as you were saying wisely, that should be protected, that should be enhanced, that should be supported because this is at the heart, the heart of the core of a good construction company. And your company also takes pride at saying, we want transparency, which is not so easy in construction and to find. And so I think that's a big differentiator. And then you want to deliver on time, obviously, which is another, usually complex conversation between the buyer and the builder. So this aside, if you had a magic wand, so this being known, okay, that it is core and not to be dismissed and never to disappear. If you had a magic wand, what would you change? What would you like to see being made easy today so that the art and science of construction, and the peopleness of construction could be served at its best. What would you like to see, you know,
Well,
handled?
it's a huge question, right? I mean, we talk about sub skills, right? So um, imagine landing in British Columbia today. Well, there's nothing preventing you from forming a construction company tonight after you newly arrived in British Columbia today. And there's no validation of skills requirement to enter, right? And to be competitive in the construction industry. So much like every other industry, we've seen a huge erosion of sub skills of skills. On the management side of that, technology plays some part when you're trying to facilitate growth and you need a whole bunch of new entrants in the workforce to facilitate that growth. There's going to be an erosion of skills, new entrants, and that's all normal. Take it for granted. Um, I'm not suggesting that there be barriers to that. There is, it's a very complex thing because you have qualified contractors, unqualified contractors, people running a business. You have construction managers in the middle trying to run a project
Hmm.
and award contracts and keep maintain a schedule. You have owners and developers who often have similar wants and needs, but go about it in a very different methodology, who are also new to development and new to construction. They don't know work safe legislation. They don't know um, contract law. They don't know uh, the best practices of the construction industry.
Hmm.
I often say that the Italian master and apprentice is lost,
Hmm.
right? Where and that goes back to our conversation the other day about the sub skills. And I was just joking about this with another business consultant yesterday. We rely on the technology as a tool, but if we rely on it also as the teacher and the
Yes,
tool,
yes,
then
yes.
we have some issues. So we want the teacher to really be a human and hopefully a human that has practiced best practice, understands legislation, bylaws, construction codes. So there's a huge minimum benchmark standard that BCIT or some of the local trade schools or whatever have done a great job of. But there's no mandatory requirements. And some other provinces in Canada have done a very good job of that. If we look at Alberta, for example, the oil and gas sector, you can't just walk onto a construction site and start work like in British Columbia. There's a number of prerequisite requirements that you have to show that are not just tickets that you can pay 500 or $100 for and magically have a ticket at the
Hmm.
end of a 2 hour educational cycle.
Yeah.
So there's a lot there that a magic wand, I don't think anyone should have a magic wand, to be honest, but um, there's some thought provoking conversations there that the industry has just sort of run away. I mean, if you look at the development industry, it's really unregulated, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Real
and
estate to
yeah,
some extent is regulated, but development and real estate development and the way that developments change hands is essentially unregulated.
yeah.
And so that brings up a number of questions as well. So you have an unregulated Wild West, cowboys and Indians. Then you add in an unqualified aspect at certain levels as well. So um, now we are faced with basically a market reset where we have a, um, a dead multifamily condo market. Basically, the situation there that exists is there are midstream projects which are completing the inventory that they have sold. There are for rental or purpose rental built developments that are supported financially through, they have to fit a test essentially, and they have their financing backed, their mortgages backed.
Hmm.
But those are for all purpose rentals. I haven't really seen a hybrid approach of that, which we would need, probably as of 2 years ago, um, or more. And then you have new developments sitting, waiting to be sold and then built, and
Mm.
then a number of scenarios in the middle. But really, those are the three main scenarios. So, and not all of them are successful right now. And so
Mm.
a lot of people have said
Sure.
politics and Trump and tariffs and all that, but that is not the whole truth. There's been a lot of underlying weakness as well. So
Hmm. So when I'm hearing you, I feel like this industry um, is challenged in many ways, at least locally, as you describe it. And there are barriers to entry to the market, such as what you said, knowledge, that's not necessarily always, explicit knowledge, but that's real knowledge that's required to be a good builder, and a good constructor. So that requires time to organize this plan for this, etc. So
yeah. And
three
the
things.
word I was searching for the other day was curriculum.
Yeah.
Curriculum. That
Yeah.
was the word that we
Yeah.
were looking for.
Yeah.
In a world of everybody wants everything now and fast
Sure.
and cheap and free, and so it's hard to I some great advice passed down to me by my brother-in-law was you can't skip steps, and
No.
so that's a great advice because
Yeah.
if you go step by step, it just ensures that.
So in terms of simplifying your CEO, head of operations, right? So VP of SVP of operations. So in those operations, name three things that you think would really free time for the organization to focus on those other areas that are being, you know, under scrutiny because of the change in the environments. Three things in the operations that you feel with AI could be really um, lighter, less time consuming, less resources consuming, and on the contrary, probably adding some revenues, and certainly lowering costs and creating some time so that you can
Yeah,
invest
so
that
so
in
probably
innovation.
two or three applications there. One of them is to support the field and the constructor, let's say.
Yeah.
Two would be an administrative tool. So now we have an infield tool, which may be analysis and also guiding steps and also schedule suggestion. It really it depends on who builds it, right? Who is building the sequencing in that AI programming to make sure that it's built properly. And then the second is the administrative management of the organization. And
Yes.
then the third one would be what you touched on is the development end of it. So marketing my business, and everything that goes along with marketing a
Sure.
business and developing a business, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
administering, developing, and then actually the execution tool in the field as well,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
we're seeing with a lot of those great household names that I didn't really
Yeah.
mention the names of before, but
Yeah. And then, in terms of marketing, how many clients do you run at once? And then how many clients do you have in your database? Two different things,
sure. So we have about five or six ongoing projects at any one time. So active multifamily with commercial projects. And then we have about three or four in the holster, let's say, sort of ready to get loaded up and executed. Those might be in development management or pre-construction phases before they hit building permit and then construction phase. And then we may have one or two in the occupancy close up or post occupancy service range. So if we finished up a project and we're just doing some homeowner stuff or some warranty stuff to close out that service essentially.
Mhm.
So the
And in your
closeout, the midstream, and then the upcoming and
response.
the holster.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And then there's really whatever is not solidified, like a lead or
Yes, exactly.
an estimate, right, that you're chasing.
Yes. I'm just trying to understand the flow. No, yeah, the flow you explained, sorry. The volume, the volume. So I get the one in
Yeah.
works, soon to be in work, post work, which is more work, okay. And
Yeah.
then you said the other
About
lead, okay.
10 projects overall through different phases, five ongoing, two in post occupancy, three in the holster in development is
Uh-huh.
really an easy way to look at it.
And you were talking, and then we'll finish on this, and then until my next question, and it will be done. But the development, the marketing, the finding the clients, etc. So do you work with a database of clients? Like that's what's your marketing? I'm thinking about your listeners, our listeners.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyone who is a registered, licensed builder
Hmm.
will have certain basic marketing through a registered portal of qualified builders. So that already narrows the field quite a bit. And then you're going to have different types of registered builders. You're going to have developers who just develop their land basically, or you'll have serial developers. Then you'll have general contractor type licensed builders who focus mostly on the single family or smaller type
Hmm.
structures.
Hmm.
And then you'll have the general contractor license types that cater to the larger structures. Those are delineated in the building code itself, part 9 and part 3.
And
So
all these people are likely candidates to call you and say, "Hey, we need your help," or you to call them to find out whether you could work for them on specific projects.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so generally on the West Coast, the market has been booming enough in the last decade
Yeah.
plus
Yeah.
that we really haven't had to pick up the phone. The phone has rung and we have answered and fit that project into our timeline very effectively. We are reaching the tail of that market. So the phone and submitting estimates and diversifying are all real strategies to for success. There are still phone bills.
Hmm.
There are still projects in the holster, but the timelines are becoming are getting more protracted.
Hmm. Hmm. Got it. Okay. So that's right there, another expansion. So in this fast moving or deeply changing, context, what's your next level, as a professional? How do you envision your growth and your ambition with
Yeah, no, it's a
Canada?
well, I think nobody wants to just sit back and wait and let the market correct and let the government fix everything. So, everyone is working with their strategic partners and their allies and looking at different geographical regions and looking at different styles of projects.
Mhm.
So, all options on the table, really. Um, and that's the way you have to look, right?
And
So,
how do you position yourself from a career standpoint yourself, like because that's obviously we can feel that there are structural factors right now that are redefining the game.
there's been a lot of good feedback just in the last few weeks from vendors and trades and contractors, from other estimates and requests for proposals. I've been in touch with architecture firms all the time that have just recently said that they're getting a increased number of requests for proposals. So hopefully the tide turns before any major structural changes have to happen or are forced to happen. But I think we're also all um, ears and eyes are a little more open to what's out there.
Hmm. Okay, wonderful. All right. Well, thank you so much. Okay, we'll end now. And your listeners will be able to reach your company, Chiswick Project Management. And the pleasure was for me to host Kaj Briscoe from the west side of the country, close to of Canada. close to Vancouver, and doing great work there, providing homes and commercial venues for the population and the community. So thank you, Kai, for your time and everything that
That's
you shared for our audience. I really appreciate that greatly.
my
Thank you.
pleasure. And we'll chat again soon, I bet.
Absolutely.